Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Derrick Robinson, owner of Red Design Build. We are the builder of Toronto's best modern homes. I take nothing and make something out of it, right? So me and my team will take a bungalow, we'll take something that is underused and make that into something beautiful. For us, it's a very creative process. We're not just here to make money. It's a more of a collaborative, artistic process. It's a love interest, man. That's what it is. Toronto, moved to Brampton later. 0 to 13, T dot. All the years after that was Peel, Brampton, Mississauga, but yeah, B-Town. It was interesting because being a Toronto kid, you're very independent, right? So I brought that independence with me to the suburbs, right? So it was like we were on the subway, we were on the bus at like 7, 8, 9 years old. You wouldn't see that in the suburbs. Well, we were super independent, so we took that independence out there. I think that came at an early age because it had to. Pops was, he was hustling, trying to make money too, right? So he worked his afternoon shift. When we get home from school, there was just me and my brother until my mom came home at 6. So what do you do with those 3 hours, right? That's how life was for us growing up. To be honest with you, I wasn't supposed to be here, man. This wasn't like my original path. Pops was a general contractor, but I didn't envision myself. He didn't really push us to be in the construction. It wasn't like, hey man, get a trade, you can make money or whatever. So I never even valued the trades as an option when I was in high school or whatever, right? Went to high school, got out, didn't do anything constructive for like 5, 6 years. Later I went on to university, and when I did that, after coming out, I was in IT, right? So in tech, I did well. I developed a team, we made good money, we did really big projects. But at a point, you're looking for some reward because, again, going back, I was always creative, I was an artist. So I found that I always wanted to find the path that people don't take. Even today when I'm driving, I know that you can go this way and get fast. I like to go take the scenic route, see what's going on, right? So my mind works in a different way than most. What happened in tech, they just wanted the quickest way to the answer. If you get that, always follow that path. So eventually I got boring. So my daughter's mother at the time was an interior designer. So we're always going to the shows, we're meeting people in the industry, and then I bought a rental house. So doing the work on the rental house with my dad's guidance, I was working with my boy Jerome. We both owned the properties together with my daughter's mother. It was like, okay, this felt like where I wanted to be, but I didn't want to be a landlord. So after selling off the rental properties, getting back into my tech career, working my way up into project management, I jumped out of that and came into construction. So it was just a natural progression at that point. I didn't imagine myself being here at a young age. You know what I'm saying? Like you see your pops riding around doing this thing. I never, like he would, fix basement, renovate basements. It was funny because you go and see these places that he did, and you're like, yo, my pops did that, man. He was, back in the day, he would do the popcorn ceiling, but then he would add like sparkles to them. So when he did the popcorn ceiling, he had like the sparkles in the popcorn ceiling would pop off when you like have basement parties or whatever. Turn the lights on. That's pretty sick. That was his trademark. And I seen all his work, but never really appreciated it until later years. Now, my pop's in his 70s now, and I'll bring him to my sites, and he'd be like, man, he's proud of me. Like, yo, you did that, man. It's a nice spot, man. You did good work, right? Hearing that, it's like you feel like you did something. It varies, right? It really depends on your business structure. We operate pretty lean, so our structure is more along the lines of project management. We also have a team that will go in as like a general contractor kind of situation, right? I have a team that can go in, smash that job, and be out of there, right? So we'll be out of there in 2 months. That's it. They don't go anywhere. They just stay there, finish that work. On the bigger projects, like the one we're in today, it's project management. So I got a site supervisor who will be here. We got a project manager who's in the back end monitoring the job, the budget, the timeline. got a designer who's in-house helping with the design, coordinating all the procurement and everything else. In that circumstance, you want to have an office or a place for your team to work out of. You typically want to have some equipment, like trucks or whatever, and then all your tools to obviously get the job done. Again, I'm not a trade, right? So it's not like I have to own an excavator or own a forklift to be a carpenter. The investment is really time, in terms of we have a general understanding of all the trades who are on the site. You don't get that in just a year. So you've got to invest time with someone to teach you how to build, right? So I always say by year 5, now you have a junior understanding of how to build a house. 5 years in, it's like an apprentice, right? So after year 5, you're getting to an intermediate level to say that you can actually get out and build your own houses. By like year 8, now you're kind of senior. You've seen a lot. You can build almost anything, and then that's where it goes from there. So that's the time. That's the investment, is really time. The name is Red. Design and build is a descriptor. But what it was is my mom, when she was alive, she basically when I started, she was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. So if you look up the cancer ribbons, they all have different Pantone colors. So the color that the logo is, or the red is the same color as her cancer ribbon. And the red was just like an homage to my mom. So that basically was, me giving my mom a shout out that I'm here, we're working with you, we're standing behind you and fighting with you the good fight. So, she pushed 11 years, gave us all she could, and then she had to go. When I was like 18, my dad started going to Jamaica to build his house. As a result of that, he's building houses for other people. So there's a term called returnees. So people who've left Jamaica, gone to the US, the UK, Canada, now are returning home and want to build houses for themselves, usually in their community that they left and are coming back to. Those people can't, after being here for 30, 40 years, you have a certain expectation of how things should be done, right? So when they're going back home, they couldn't tolerate the "yo man soon come," it's that kind of vibes when you're building your house. So my dad was able to get business from those people because they liked his approach. He's like a guy who wants to get in there, get it done, move on or move back to his spot, right? Growing up, as I got to be older, I would go back and kind of help out with the business that he was developing there. I had always envisioned a Caribbean vibe to the architecture that we would do here. We're now getting to see some of those colors, some of the wood tones are now in style. Now we were doing these like years before the designers of today started implementing these things into their houses. The soft woods, the creamy whites, like this fireplace here could live in any of the Caribbean islands that we could talk about, right? So today you might have some designers who are on that vibe, but when I started, there was none of that. It was cold, stark, white, especially when you're talking about modern homes. People used to refer to them as museums. So I was like, how do we soften that up? Bring some of the Caribbean design and architecture to it. Aside from the just pure business acumen, like, okay, we're faster than others, we're priced right, the stuff that any business can say. What I feel that makes us different is our attention to detail, the way we think through problems, the way we manage our client expectations, and just the overall look and feel of what you're going to get from us versus someone else. It's not the same. Perseverance. It's not easy. They say the average construction company dies in 2 years. There have been some tough times, especially in the beginning. I remember in whatever, like year 2 or 3, I had a journal, and in my journal I wrote, I borrowed $65 from my daughter's piggy bank and make sure I put it back at the end of the week. My daughter, who was at the time like 7 or 8 years old, comes around reading my journal. You borrowed $65 from my piggy bank? And I'm like, hey man, I'm sorry, I had to do what I had to do. Got it back to her. There's times where it's like, it's hard. You're trying to do things on your own. You're up late. If you're a parent like I was a single father, you know, raising a 5-year-old and an 11-year-old at the time. Trying to figure out the balance between work, school, drop-offs, pickups, extracurricular activities. Those were some trying times, man. And doing it on your own, right? Balancing finances, making sure the guys are paid on time or in a timely manner so they can work for you on the next job. Trying not to upset too many people along the way. Getting business or making money, it was difficult, right? But you know, man, we made it, man. So we're here. One of my worst moments that I can remember right now was we're doing this audition in a prominent neighborhood in Toronto, and I remember meeting with the excavators the week prior to the job starting, kind of just going over how this is going to play out, because like I said, we're in a prominent neighborhood, a prominent architect. For me, it was a big deal, a big designer on the project, and the homeowner is also very connected, right? So we start the job, and I was clear, yo, don't go through the garage before the weekend, because a long weekend, I'm going away. We all need to be here to see this happen. I'm in Muskoka with the family. I get a call Saturday. So the guys went through the garage. The wall that was standing unbraced fell over onto the neighbor's house. So I got a call from the neighbor freaking out. Then I get a call from the homeowners freaking out. Nothing I can do. I'm 3-4 hours away. So Tuesday I get back. The building inspector shows up. The homeowner and the neighbor, the police, like everyone shows up. Job's shut down. I look like a piece of shit who doesn't know what I'm doing. The guy who was running the excavator that day says he didn't do it. It's not his fault. No one's taking any accountability. My insurance is gonna go up as a result of this. I'm paying more. They wanted to kill the deal. It was just a whole shitload of problems, man. You know, persevered through it, man. We had to fight through it. Me and the owners at the time it was a rough spot because the whole project stopped. They had to get the architect to redesign the house. The permit got messed up. Like, it was just pure problems, man. Like anything you could, like, for me, that was the worst. Like, all the things that you would imagine to be a nightmare as a project manager on a project like that happened in that moment or in that stretch of time. Fortunately, we got through it. The house got completed. It's beautiful. It's a portfolio piece now. It's a distant memory. I feel like that's as bad as it's gonna get. So we're here. Most construction companies operate on word of mouth referral. The main business is through referral or word of mouth, but we get a lot of leads through site signage. It's like a real estate agent. The guys who have listings are visual. People see them. You got that house listed and you sold it, man, that guy can do the same job for me. It's like, I'm building this house. I had a big sign on the main road there. That alone got me like 4 or 5 quality jobs, right? So we're able to, just by having work, get work off of most of the jobs that we have. Like, I'll get at least one job off of one good job, not to even speak about the amount of leads, right? Off of a high quality project. There's times where I'll take a project knowing that it's got good exposure and be less concerned about how much I'm making on it. Cause I know, you know, if I'm on a high exposure road, then I'm gonna get work out of it. That, and then, you know, a little bit of paid advertising here and there doesn't hurt either. Taking on a project that's bigger than they're ready for. A lot of the young guys, they work with guys like me or work with some of the other OGs in the business. They'll do a big project, but they've only been exposed to a portion of it. They haven't fully learned all the things that can go wrong and how do you recover from that. Sometimes you hear stories of a contractor who takes off with a client's money. It's not necessarily that this guy was a bad guy. He just got overwhelmed. Often what happens is he prices the job wrong. Imagine you're a contractor, you go in, It's a big project. You bid it $2 million. Sounds like a shitload of money. As you're working through it, you realize that this $2 million job that you bid on is worth 2.7. You've got 1.8 or 1.9 in construction costs. You got to pay your guys, you got to pay your rental equipment, your equipment that you own. All of a sudden you're like, yo, if this guy can't give me no more money, I can't stay here. So what do you do? Or what does that person do? They leave. At the end of the day, it's their fault for underpricing the job, but it's also the homeowner's fault, in my opinion, for knowing after getting a number of quotes and taking this guy who's maybe show your portfolio of his boss's work that he worked for, and his price is like 25% lower than everybody else, and expecting that this person is going to be able to complete the job. It's just not right. In the industry, there's shows all around the world. Some people travel for them. Vegas, even in Toronto, we got the Interior Design Show, Toronto or National Home Show. So those help you, like if you want to go touch, feel, see. Magazines, to be honest with you, magazines are like the most relevant. And I like to see some of the stuff internationally, right? So I pay less attention to like the Elle Decors and the local magazines. More so, I'm interested in like what's happening in Europe, what's going on in Spain, Barcelona, what's going on in New Zealand, what's happening in Australia. Like the architecture there is so far ahead of us. YouTube, like, you know, we spent a lot of time in my house on some of the YouTube channels. You'd be surprised, my 4-year-old sitting there, let's look at a house, daddy, and really watching some of the design trends from the other parts of the world, right? Funny, because in St. Martin, which is a Caribbean island, you'd expect that they're kind of behind us from a design / architectural standpoint. But yet I was there in March, and I'm really paying attention now to what they're doing, and it's like it's way ahead of us here. We want to consider that a third world island or whatever, but it's like they're miles ahead of us in trim details, color palettes, all the architectural design that they're doing. It's a whole different level. For me, like I said, some of the mediums that you can touch and feel, social media, YouTube, TikTok, some of that stuff really gets it to you in real time. You can see what's happening around the world. First thing you got to do is obviously get with a professional. Some people like to start with meeting the architect. We advocate that people come to us first. We are going to be your partner for the rest of the project. All I need you to do is have your land. From there, we can do everything for you. We'll work with you to get everything out of your brain. If it's you and a partner or whatever, we will extract everything, all the ideas out of you so that we can actually design something. From there, we'll work with our architect. We'll work with our designer, whether it's in-house or third party. Pull together what the house should look like. We'll do all the zoning, we'll do the permit applications, basically get you everything to a point where you got a package that you can build a house from. From there, we start construction. Depending on the size of the house, that could be a year to 2 years, again, depending on what you're building. After that, we give you your keys. I've built houses for people who were flipping in the past and found that they're always putting pressure on me to cut corners. So one of my first questions now when I'm qualifying a lead, if it's someone that I don't know, is, are you building to keep for yourself, or are you building this to make money off of? Generally speaking, if someone's interviewing me to build to sell, I'm not the person for them. We have such a quality approach to the way we build our houses that I'd rather they found somebody else who's willing to cut those corners. I'm not about that. You know what I mean? We're insured. I want to keep my insurance. I don't want to have things falling down or people falling through the floor or bricks falling off the walls. I'm not even interested in that, man. So they can find someone else who's really about that. We want people who are interested in quality construction through and through. We have a safety protocol that we follow. Back in the day when I was younger taking risks, I got hit with Ministry of Labor coming on and finding me for things that I didn't really realize were even infractions. So now you try to set yourself up in a way where if the Ministry of Labor was ever to walk on your job site, they'd be like, oh man, this is a nice place. You guys are doing a good job. Continue on. That's like the biggest thing you could get, because Ministry of Labor shows up, someone's getting shut down usually. How can you alleviate that problem? And that goes a long way when your client shows up, found out that Ministry of Labor was there, and you guys were able to cruise through. You know what I mean? You're doing good. We just finished a sustainable laneway house. We built this laneway house for this woman so that she could move from the main house where she shares with her son into the laneway home. So we basically created a home for her. She was able to spend less money than buying a condo in her neighborhood, able to stay within the services and amenities that she's come to know for the last 20 years. Her son will move into the main house, which when she passes on, he's gonna be in the main house anyway. And the house is sustainable. We're not combusting gas. There's no fossil fuels being run through that house. All that trick. The building envelope, the air sealing is as tight as you possibly could get. Today, when we tear apart older homes, the mold, the asbestos, all the things wrong with that house is why people could be having cancers today. You're living in something that's dying. Like that doesn't it doesn't work, right? This house, the way it's been done, there's no way that animals will be in there living with her, or airborne particles and stuff like that. Sustainably built home, designed by the People's Cooperative, and it just came together real good. Our intentions now moving forward after building this laneway home is to build at that level or better. So really raise the bar. The building code is like the bare minimum. As home builders, we have to strive to do a lot better than that. Particularly in the beginning, like a building inspector would walk on site. I'm there to do inspection with him, and he would just like walk by me, look for the first white guy. Hey man, we're here for the inspection. And the guy would be like, man, I don't even speak English, bro. It's not me. That's the boss. And you look at me like, oh, I thought you're the plumber. I'm the contractor, man. So the beginning, it was rough. Like there were very few contractors who were black. There's more coming up. I expect that the next generations there'll be even more. It was rough. There's still days where you're battling with certain clients who expect the European to show up to their door when they talk to you on the phone or whatever. But there's a lot of people who are aware, who are like, I don't care about color. I want the best job. Give me that client. Right? So from the client perspective, we're able to weed through, especially with social media now, people usually get to see who you are before they even call you. I find when I call someone initially, whether they know I'm black or not, I'm getting hit up on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. They're doing all this due diligence before they even meet me to know who I am, right? So now that's kind of in the background. It's just about people who you have to interact with by default, making sure that they're aware and they're ready to play ball, man, because I'm not stopping, bro. So deal with it. Hiring people of color. The fact that you're excluding people from the business or from the market is the first problem, right? And I mean, not just hire them, promote them. Put them in positions of power where they have influence. That people get used to taking orders from a black man or a black woman. That's something that we have to do. The companies today need to give us those opportunities. I wasn't getting the opportunity to be a boss in my previous career when I was working for someone. So I quickly left because I wasn't gonna play that game with them. I was just gonna get upset that I'm not making the right amount of money. I left to create my own thing, which I felt was the best move for me because I wasn't gonna be just pigeonholed in a position where I know I'm good at something, but yet you're holding me back because of the color of my skin. I wasn't gonna allow that to happen to me. There are smart brothers and sisters out there who are not getting the opportunities, and they need to get hired, trained, educated through the processes of how to build a house, how to create a high performing home, all these things so that they can be the people who know how to lead the ones underneath them. The pandemic changed. It changed a lot in terms of how we order. Like the whole supply chain got jacked up, right? You always hear like materials are up, the delays are longer, all of that, right? So the pandemic changed that, but it made things better. So people in the past would figure they could just run out to Home Depot, grab what they need, come back to site, and then keep moving. We were operating in a very inefficient system before because you relied on the fact that things were always available instantly. Now, as a result of the pandemic and how we had to restructure, you got more planning, right? So you plan things out, you start procurement at an earlier stage. Like we order windows before the house is even started. So everything kind of rolls, framing's done, windows are there, roof is going on. Like it just makes more sense than the way we were doing it before. Like we'd be start framing, order windows, then you're waiting for windows to show up, hoping that they show up on time. It just was a whole different. So now, because of the pandemic, we've learned lessons where it's like, collect a little bit more money up front, start ordering and procuring that material earlier, have it ready and waiting for you. So as you get to the different phases, you just start popping it in and you just keep moving. Okay, when I first started, I probably unloaded on the people who were most close to me. My daughter, my girl, like, man, I had a shit day, this is what happened. Man, this client, man, bugging, da, da, da. Or the wins, like, yo, I got a big payday, da, da, da. We're going on vacation or whatever, right? That was probably how I dealt with things more then. Now, there's like, in the construction industry, there's groups. I'm a part of a few different construction groups. We unload on each other within the group. I talk less about my work at home with the family and try not to bring too much of that home. It's still a bit of a lonely journey. I'm usually in the office by 7, home by 6, 7, depending on the day. And just because I'm home doesn't mean I've turned off and I'm not working either, right? So from that aspect, things are, but it's passion too, right? Like I could shut down, like I start work at 7, I could leave at 3, but I'm also interested. When I leave the office, I'm like on site, I'm gonna see the guys, I'll come take pictures, make sure things are happening the way I expect them to, until I can't do it anymore. I know there's gonna be a point where there's too many projects or they're too far spread apart, which happened to me last year, where I couldn't go and see them all. And then I was really consumed by the travel time. So right now, where a lot of them are close by, I don't mind to, after I'm done in the office, spin around, go see them, and then shoot home. But yeah, it's a battle, man. And then just talking to other entrepreneurs, right? You share like your stories or your wins or like resources. Like you create that brotherhood amongst just those, even though you're not even in the same industry per se, but you're still at war with the same, fighting the same battles, right? Canadian home that I would build would be for Michael Leachin. I've always been an admirer of Michael's hustle. He's of Jamaican descent. For those who know, he should be the idol of any black person in business. Black billionaire, achieved a lot of success. I would love to build a mansion for Michael Leachin. Jamaica, Usain Bolt. Caribbean, I want to build Usain Bolt's house. I don't know why. I just have I got just love for the guy and just seeing what he accomplished. To me, he's Jamaica's hero, Jamaica's superstar. In the States, I would have loved to have built Nipsey's house. All right, that would have been, man, for me, that would have been a moment. For someone who's living, I would say Kevin Hart. Calendar blocking time for things that are important before I schedule anything else. I try and put the family things in first. If I had to do a sales appointment for someone, and I know my daughter's got swimming lessons on Tuesday at 7, she's in there already. So when I'm booking that sales appointment, it can't be Tuesday at 7 because that's already scheduled for. So with that, what I'm getting at is we're using technology more than we would have used in the past. Between the calendar and between the project management software, it allows the team to see what I'm doing, to see where the project is. I can get an update just looking at the software. I don't have to call you. So I'm saving time there. I don't have to have a half-hour conversation with you to find out what I can see on the screen. I would say technology and just being very conscious of the time. I have to be home by 5 o'clock tonight because I've got family commitments. I got to get to the gym, or I have to do this, but making those things more of a priority than they were before. Before, I would just keep going. 7 in the office, come home, have dinner, put the kids to bed. Now it's 9 till 2 in the morning. You're just in one mode. You're staying in one lane, and all you're doing is you're hyper focused on whatever it is you're creating or whatever it is you're doing. Find yourself burnt out in this business. It goes hard. There's a lot of hard questions throughout the day. People want a lot of you. I remember hitting the wall where it was like, yo, I gotta go. I left when I went on a short vacation, but it did nothing because all it did was delay all the things I was trying to get away from, and then now they just compounded to for when I got back. Went away for a week, came back more stressed out than when I had left. The way to manage burnout now is before you get there, start to fine tune things. I'm not spending enough time in a different environment, then you got to get into a whole different, trajectory or focus. Boxing is my outlet, so I'll do my boxing. Meditation is great to help you just take your mind and free it up. Reading, before, I'll tell you, I was getting burnt out every 2 months. I would go hard, I would do something, I would go on a little trip, thinking that was going to be the remedy, but it wasn't, because I would let it accumulate too much. I would need a whole lot of time before I could even recover from the burnout I was under. So I would go hard, go away, come back, still feel like shit, got to get back in it again. Now I'm just adding more on my back. It's different for everyone, right? So it's just finding what that thing is for you. I'm starting to feel a little bit of pressure here, man. This doesn't feel good. Let me do something to alleviate that before it all, flows over. I want to try and get the younger generation. I'm trying to get them in. I was talking to my young daughter the other day. I'm like, they're in university. They're talking about some boys who opted to drop out after first year and get into construction. They're speaking down on these boys for dropping out of school. Truth be told, when these girls graduate from university in 4 years, these boys who've chose to drop out are going through their apprenticeships in 4 years. Those boys who did drop out will be making more money than them. I still want my kid to be in university doing her thing, just because that's what I feel there's benefits to that. Not to say that she will get a better paying job because she's there. It's just, I feel it's an accomplishment that she should earn for herself. The young generation, we need to get them in here. The old European guys, the Italians, the Portuguese guys who paved the way for a lot of people, they're leaving, and there's not enough, or the workforce is already not enough to backfill them. That's why immigration is so important in this country. We're starting to mentor some young kids, bring into site, letting them see how the trades are, what trades are there, the construction, talk to them about machinery and stuff like that. Again, just to catch them from an early age and develop them from that. I'm trying to create a fund where I would pay for kids coming out of high school to go into a trade program. And then I'm also looking at offering a scholarship for the top brightest kids in a trade program. I'll hire them and pay for their last year of school as an award for being one of the top, right? So that's what college sports be doing. They find you, start throwing stuff at you, so you come to them, right? So I look at us like a basketball team. It's like there's no different. We want superstar players to take us to the finals. To me, it's straightforward, man. It's perseverance. You're going for it because it's true to you and you're going at it. You're not going to stop. We've talked about it through this interview here. There's been moments where I didn't think I was going to make it through the next day. The stress is so unbearable, the loneliness of entrepreneurship, the financial tribulations and all that. Man, you push through, and then you celebrate your wins. And when you get those wins, you make sure you celebrate them because you worked hard for it. Don't buy into the social media bullshit. Social media is a tool to be used for yourself in business, but don't fall a victim to the content creators who are doing what they need to do to make their money. The information is not always 100% accurate. It's there. Use it for yourself in your own marketing. But like I said, man, create your own way. Don't give up. Persevere. Push. It's not going to be easy, but it will be rewarding. This is Derrick Robinson from Red Design Build, and you're watching The Hustle Never Dies.